Morning glory, America. Bonjour, hi, Canada. It's Hugh Hewitt on the Wednesday in the year of the plague, 2020, beginning the show with Jake Sherman of Politico Playbook, which you've really got to read every morning to know what's going on. You especially have to read it when $484 billion passed the Senate yesterday. Nancy Pelosi said this, cut number 19.
We have to insist on the truth. And that is why we're going to open up our great economy. Everybody's restless. Cabin fever has set in many ways.
Well, I'm going to insist on the truth, and we begin by asking Jake Sherman. Good morning, Jake. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Hugh. How are you?
Good. Tell us the truth about what's in this bill.
Well, it's a huge bill, and it's the reason why Mitch McConnell's beginning to pump the brakes on any new spending. What's in this bill is hundreds of billions of dollars in new small business lending, new hospital money, new money for testing, just a whole bag of goodies. And the interesting thing is, Hugh, and we pointed this out a couple days ago in Playbook, there was a long delay on this bill. It was a 2-week delay between when Mitch McConnell wanted to pass just the small business portion and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer exerted their influence or held up the bill, depending on what side of the aisle you're on, and got all these other items in the bill. Now, everybody agreed on all of the items. None of these were contentious items like previous disagreements between Republicans and Democrats. But again, just such a massive bill that we've now spent, the government has now spent, $2.5 trillion helping the country recover from the coronavirus.
Now, Jake, a couple of questions. One, I believe that Pelosi retreated from the effort to get assistance for state and local governments, and that's been postponed. And that was the big breakthrough. But there is a $60 billion, I know what the 310 is, that's the PPP. And I know what the 25 billion is. That's for the hospitals, and I'm sure some need it and some don't. But they'll figure that out. But there's 60 billion set aside for small, mid-sized, and community lenders. What is that?
Well, Nancy Pelosi and Democrats believe that there are underserved communities and not big banks that don't have the same access or don't have the same ability to get the PPP money, and they wanted to make sure that some of those communities, Native American communities, Black communities, Latino communities, small community banks, rural banks have the same opportunities as the big banks. I don't know the details of administering this money as well as maybe I should or some other reporters do, but there did seem to be agreement that was an issue, which is why it got through. Now, I will say the state and local piece is a very interesting piece, and it's something that we're going to see going forward. President Trump now wants to, and I don't know if he did before, but he has said he wants to provide money to state and local governments that are kind of being bled dry because of this coronavirus incident. And I think we're going to see the House and the Senate come to agreement on that. Now, the big concern from the administration, I can tell you, is that they believe that if they gave a huge chunk of money to state and local governments, then state and local governments would not open because they're really being bled dry because they don't have the tax revenue, the sales tax revenue, and other forms of income to keep their government stable and operational, and I think they thought it would de-incentivize them from opening up again.
You've just hit the main thing. They need sales tax. It is the flywheel of local government, especially cars, malls, things like that. They need occupancy taxes for places like New York. They're all going to go bust if they don't open up. The question becomes, I had Attorney General Barr on the show yesterday. I don't know if you saw what he said. It went everywhere. And he also added a civil liberties aspect, which is you can't keep people shut down. You can't, if they want to open up, there's a point at which their civil liberties oblige you to let them open up. Where Georgia's going first, that's my assessment. Is that your assessment, Jake's?
Yes, absolutely. They're definitely going first. Yeah, but I would add the other side to what you said. Yes, there is that is true that you can't keep people shut if they want to open up, but you can also, on the flip side, force people to open up if they're not ready to open up.
Agree.
I think that is something that is going to frustrate this administration. I'm actually on the other side of this, and alluded to this in Playbook a few times. I believe that governors, both, so the theory right now is that red state governors will open up because of pressure from the president. Blue state governors will close down in opposition to the president. That seems to be lazy analysis, which I myself have relied on in the past. I think that actually governors are going to be much more cautious, regardless of party label, than previously assumed. And why do I think that? I think that just because they're closest to the people. They're closest to the life and death situation that a lot of their constituents face. And I think that they have medical people on their staff that are just going to be overly cautious and conservative, small c conservative, in their medical decisions. That's just my theory right now.
Jake, and I really don't believe it's red blue. I believe it who has confidence in people. Now, I have confidence in people because every day after the show, I go for between 4 and 10 miles of a ramble, amble, trundle, run, walk, whatever you want to call it. And I see people who are aware, who socially distance on the roads that I go on, the paths that I go on, and I see just dummies. Now, generally speaking, I think business owners are not dummies, or they wouldn't be in business. And therefore, I believe they will open up very carefully, and that the difference, the only red-blue difference might be that red governors are in states where there are a lot more people saying, hey, trust us. If we open up our restaurant, we're going to be really socially distanced. What I view as the biggest impediment, and I wanted to ask if you've heard about this, is liability preemption. They've got to make a single standard at the federal level to make sure everybody is covered by the same standard of liability, or we'll be so deep into lawsuits in 3 months, no one will know what hit them.
Yeah, and the president has said, again, based on what he said, that he has not begun considering that yet. But yes, that's going to be a massive issue. And on the same token, Hugh, the other issue that we need to focus on is whether insurance companies are going to pay out some of these business interruption clauses in their insurance contracts. That is something businesses are being told to close down by the government. The question is, will insurance companies believe that is a stoppage in their policy, and could they pay out some of those claims, which are going to be plentiful? And Congress is going to need to step in on this. And Congress is going to, or the administration, someone's going to need to have a voice to say that some of these policies and some of these, there's just a lot of clarity that's needed in this situation in a way that I think a lot of people hadn't expected in the past.
Well, insurers are naturally prone to say, no, that's not covered. And I think that a business owning business interruption insurance indicates a well-run business. It indicates a business that is aware of risks that they cannot foretell, fire, flood, hurricane, tornado, earthquake, and that they are, as a result, the most responsible businesses, and you want them covered. So I don't even mind a federal guarantee, a federal backup, a federal replacement of those who've had prior existing business insurance. That is, to me, a great way of identifying good companies. But let me close with this, Jake. I've got the leader on later today. Of course, I'm going to ask him about judges. They can't confirm any judges until they come back to work. Where the hell are these people? I mean, I'm working, you're working. Where are these people?
Well, McConnell has said he's not going to consider a Phase 4 bill or Phase 5, depending on how you look at it, until the Senate's back in session. So that's probably an incentive to get people back. And you could tell Kevin McCarthy, who's been on you, I know you know, and he has said it's time to get back to work. We need to kind of figure out a plan. We're essential just as doctors are essential, so we need to get back to work. And I think you're going to see the tide turning in that direction in the coming days and weeks.
Well, I see that at your Politico Playbook headline. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said he will not begin considering another phase of coronavirus stimulus until the Senate is back in session. I agree with that. I think the leader of the Senate, he's the master of the Senate. He's just like Johnson. He knows he's got to bring them back if there's going to be legitimacy in this beyond just pushing more money out into already approved pipelines like they did yesterday. But will he get pushback from House members and older senators who are afraid and older congressmen who are afraid of getting sick?
They could stay home, Hugh. They could stay home if they want. There's no requirement for them to be in. There's no requirement. If you're old and you don't feel like you're up to it, you could stay home. The Senate could be in session without 100 senators, and I think that's what you're going to see. And I think, listen, at a certain point, Hugh, and I know you have to go, this becomes a member management issue. McConnell can't keep okaying $1 trillion of spending without the consent, both implicit and the buy-in of his senators. It's just not.
I agree, and they got to get back to work on judges, too. I mean, Lindsey Graham wanted to be chairman. He should come and chair some committee hearings and get ready. Thank you, Jake Sherman. Follow him at Jake Sherman. Follow Politico Playbook every morning. Let's look at the markets brought to you by Birch Gold. All right, you know that the national debt now is not 24 trillion with that billion, with the 484 billion being added to it yesterday, 24 trillion. That just means that hyperinflation will eventually come. I mean, this money's going to accelerate slowly, then it's going to pick up, and there's going to be inflation. And if you're not diversified, look, I told you yesterday, get into gold. It was at 1687. This morning, it's at 1721. I don't know what you have to do. It's a hedge. It's a reserve. It's a way to make sure you don't get caught in a downdraft. The Dow went down 631. The Nasdaq went down 297. The S&P went down 8.6. You need to write this down. Text my name Hugh Hugh to 474747. Birch Gold Group will send you all the free information.